But let's see. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, of course. Now, I haven't played this one, mostly because it deters me, man. So many Wii games I want to play, but it's like the fucking waggle controls. Like, I can't get down with it sometimes, man. They're intuitive and they're innovative and everything, but I just want to play this how I played Metroid Prime 1 and 2. Prime is one of my favorite games of all time on the GameCube. I mean, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and probably my favorite Metroid game, if not Super Metroid. But Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Yeah, haven't played it because I don't feel like going like this for 20 hours. To ball number 1, holy shit, wave of nostalgia just came over me. This is, to ball number 1, this is the first PlayStation game I ever played back in '95, man. I remember, one of the only times I've ever gotten rid of things. I traded in basically my whole Super Nintendo collection at the time when I was 6 or 7. It was my father's and my father's and mine, and we got rid of it, traded it in at Funkoland to get our PS1 and to ball number 1. All that for one game and a fucking console. So stupid. And the game was amazing at the time, but it doesn't hold up very well. What was really cool about this is it had a Final Fantasy VII samplers demo a year before the game came out, so it was a really big deal to play that, and I played the demo over and over and over until the game came out. And to ball number 1, yeah, 3D polygonal fighting game, not unlike Virtua Fighter. Arenas, you can kick people out of the arena, sort of like Soul Calibur. Quirky characters. It even had a solo adventure mode where you're going through tunnels and kicking the shit out of like weird bunny men. Really weird game by Squaresoft with art by Akira Toriyama. Who did Dragon Ball Z. You could tell, just looking at it, that is Toriyama. But pretty cool, just very nostalgic. And this one I actually rebought later in my life. It doesn't have the sampler CD, but it does have the manual. Pretty cool. On Deadly Ground. Seagal, I've been looking for this, actually. I gotta get this in the wall. On Deadly Ground. Such an, well, awesome's a strong word, but this is Seagal's directorial debut here. And he wrote it, or helped write it, or at least the story, and produced it, and this was his child. This was his creative child. This was him making a movie about the environment, oil companies' impact on the environment. There's even like a 2-minute monologue at the end of the film talking about it. It's kind of ridiculous, but I mean, I'm all for protecting the environment, but it's like a ham-fisted way to do it. Seagal's in this. Michael Caine is the bad guy, believe it or not, and he's great, even though he kind of dials it in for obvious reasons. But yeah, Seagal on Deadly Ground. Awesome movie. I love Seagal's movies from the 90s, so easy to please. This one, oh my god, look at all my clearance stickers. This one I picked up at Goodwill for like $1.99, and that's Mighty Number 9. I was this close to funding the Kickstarter campaign years back, and sort of glad I didn't because I've heard the game kind of sucks. It was Keiji Inafune leaving Capcom because they wouldn't let him make the game he wanted, so he left and made Mighty Number 9. There's a lot of politics and bullshit, but going back to it, I'm sure it's going to be a fine, fun platformer. I'm sure it's going to be just average platformer with hopefully some decent level design and some cool music, so which you expect from a Mega Man game. But this was a big deal because it was the first game that was sort of a huge creator leaving his company to try to fund. It's not unlike Bloodstained with Koji Igarashi. So Keiji Inafune's Mighty Number 9, pretty cool. I don't have a Wii U anymore, actually. I sold it to my mom, but I do want to get one again at some point. Gears of War 2, just plastered with stickers. So yeah, I do have a small Xbox 360 collection. I stopped collecting Xbox games back in the day because I went through 3 Xbox 360s in like a year and a half, or maybe even a year, and I was just fed up, so I switched over to PS3 once that came out the year later, and I still have my PS3 literally from 12 years ago. It still runs. I was playing it the other night with my brother, so Xbox 360s, but I do need to grab like a functional one and play some of these games finally. What do we got here? Original Xbox, exclusive, Quantum Redshift. This is a wild sort of Microsoft's take on like F-Zero, or Wipeout. Sony's Wipeout, Nintendo's F-Zero, Quantum Redshift is Xbox's version. So very futuristic and fun, great graphics, really cool stuff. Quantum Redshift. So got some more games here. Uncharted 2, I've not played any of the Uncharted games, which is ridiculous since I hear they're like Indiana Jones video games, and 2 is supposed to be one of the best games ever, right? So, gotta play that. at some point. This looks like a really shoddy double feature, but I grabbed it because Joss Ackland and Christopher Walken in The Mind Snatchers. The Inside Man with Dennis Hopper, sure. But I got it because 92, Christopher Walken, Ronnie Cox. It's like a psychological sci-fi thriller. I mean, it's probably an awful transfer. Look at this release. I mean, it's cheap as shit. Oh, it's Canadian. That explains it. Just kidding. Canada. Broken Sword on the PC, the Trilogy. So this has... I've never played the Broken Sword games, but I have to because I love classic adventure games. And actually, this says it has Beneath a Steel Sky on it, which is a great action or adventure point-and-click game from the early 90s. Cyberpunk's futuristic sci-fi. It's really cool. Or steampunk, more so. This has Shadow of the Templars, The Smoking Mirror, and The Sleeping Dragon. Just, you know, from what I understand, really cool adventure point-and-click games. The Broken Sword games. These even made it to, like, the DS, which is weird. Yeah, picked this up years and years ago. A lot of the stuff is older than I thought in terms of me picking it up. Cool Spot. This is actually pretty neat because that FS right there signifies to me that this came from Edward McKay on the free shelf. That's right, I got a Genesis game complete. Like, in immaculate condition. For free at the old bookstore I used to work. Which tortured me in other ways, but I got a lot of cool shit from them. So, Cool Spot. Grew up playing this game. I think I have 2 copies of it, actually. That would explain why I just grabbed this, just because. It's a complete Genesis game. I'm not going to leave that on the shelf. So yeah, Cool Spot. Cool action platformer with a really unique art style. Check this out if you haven't played it, and you like Genesis games, like I do. This probably fell from the box that was above it, but this is Tron Deadly Discs. I have a box of Atari 2600 games. That's a whole nother video. One day, maybe. Brief Encounter, Criterion Collection. I found this at a pawn shop years ago. Got it for 50 cents, I believe it was. Yeah, 50 cents at Picasso Pawn. And yeah, obviously I picked it up because it's a Criterion for 50 cents. That's a no fucking brainer. Night of the Warrior. I love that cover, and that's why I picked it up. Lorenzo Lamas, who I've not seen any action films from. Rafael Zielinski. Whew. I don't know, man. I don't know anything about this movie, but it might surprise me. Sometimes these early 90s action flicks that were just flooding the VHS market at the time really surprised me. So, kickboxer genre, it says. Lorenzo Lamas. That's a pretty decent kick, man. That's challenging Van Damme. So, yeah. Night of the Warrior. Pretty generic title. I got a 4-pack of classic war films. Wake Island, To Hell and Back, Battle Hymn, Grey Lady Down. Looks like 60s. Nope, 50s. 40s, 50s, and 70s. Actually, it ranges. So, pretty cool. Probably picked that up because it was dirt cheap. Sweet. I picked this up years ago at a Trade It, actually, in the area that's no longer with us. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. Look at that. The original. Top-down, hand-drawn. Awesome. This was the first This was the first time I played Grand Theft Auto. I think it was Grand Theft Auto 2 on the PS1. Didn't really get into it, to be quite honest, until 3 came out and changed everything in gaming. And my 13-year-old self, me and my buddies, just obsessed over that game. But this is where it all started. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. This is awesome to have. It has the first game, London, and GTA 2. So, fucking cool, man. This is fun. See, I'm having fun doing this. Ice-T triple feature. Yeah. Stealth Fighter, Body Count, Mean Guns. Albert Pyun did Mean Guns. Probably some bad movies. I mean, who am I kidding? But I like Ice-T. So. Circle of Iron. I have seen this. This is a weird fucking martial arts movie with David Carradine. The interesting thing about this, it's Blue Underground, and it's actually based on a story that Bruce Lee conceived. So, Paul Maslansky produced. He did, Police Academy, I think. Richard Moore. The cast is wild. Jeff Cooper, Christopher Lee, Roddy McDowell. Eli Wallach is in this. He plays like this really weird character that's like in a tub of tar or something. I don't know, man. It's a weird fucking movie. Circle of Iron. Written by Bruce Lee, or at least the story was. Paan Singh Tomar. Bollywood or Tollywood? Yeah. If it's a Bollywood film and it seems to be action-oriented, I pick it up because I've seen a few of them and I do like them, like Bahubali. Love that movie. Love both of those movies. So I haven't really delved into the world of Bollywood and Tollywood, but One day I will. Just, you know, they're usually 4 hours long and have dance numbers in them no matter what type of film it is. So it's just one of those things I gotta get used to. But pretty cool. Killers from Space. Peter Graves. Bill Rayner. W. Lee Wilder directed. Black and white. 71 minutes. This looks cheesy as all f***ing get out. Alpha Video puts out everything that no one else gives a shit to put out. So gotta praise Alpha Video for keeping alive some of these obscure-ass flicks, especially genre flicks. Evolver. Now, this is one I've seen. Mark Rosman, written and directed. This is follows a kid, if I can remember right, who gets a robot. You know, this is when, like, AI and robots and stuff in the early 90s were, like, catching steam in terms of toys, and before Furbies and all that, though. And, yeah, this robot basically is malfunctioning and goes crazy and starts trying to kill him. So, pretty cool. I think it has something to do with video games, too. Virtual reality game brought to fierce... Yeah, maybe I'm getting mixed up on some of the details, but, yeah, Cyberpunk, very cool. Evolver. Check it out. What the fuck is this? Elvis's Grave. A chainsaw-wielding psycho impersonator from hell on a concert tour of terror. Okay. It's actually written decently. Elvis's Grave. Impersonations is the highest form of flattery. Unless you're caught dead in the act. I know nothing about this. I don't know where this came from. This is why I'm doing this. No idea. Next up, Criterion Collection of Rushmore. This is one of those, like, million-seller Criterions, you know, like Wes Anderson's films, earlier films, all are on Criterion, and they're pretty worthless. But I picked this up because it was cheap, and it's probably $1 or so. And I haven't seen it, but man, after Grand Budapest Hotel, I am a Wes Anderson fan, because that's one of my favorite films of all time. His other stuff, like Bottle Rocket, that I've seen, and some of his other films just didn't hit me the right way, but after Grand Budapest, where I really understood his style, I'm looking forward to going back and watching his movies, because one-of-a-kind director. Total auteur. Burt Reynolds 4-pack, Seamus, or not, maybe not Burt Reynolds solely, Seamus, Physical Evidence, Connery in Anderson Tapes, and Breakout, starring Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland, so that's pretty cool. Simpsons second season. I've never really been a big fan of The Simpsons, but, you know, I still want to give it a whirl at some point. South Park Stick of Truth. I haven't played this yet. I would love to. It's just, you know. Time. Full-Time Killer. Picked this up because it's a Johnny To film and Wai Ka-Fai. Johnny To, Exiled, one of my favorite films of all time. Heroic Trio, he's done some incredible crime thrillers and action movies. He's just one of my favorite Chinese directors. So Andy Lau in a Johnny To film, I'm all in. Full-Time Killer. There we go. Now we're talking. This is a badass game. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. I've already said my piece on how I feel about the Prime games. This game is nearly as good as Prime. The only thing I put ahead for the original... The only reason I put the original Prime ahead is because of how it made me feel at the time and how new and refreshing it was to explore that world. So, but 2 is right up there with it. It's more of the same, which is a good thing in this case. Hitman. I remember picked this up because they thought it was a DVD for 50 cents. This is the Hitman HD Trilogy on PS3. So, it's in a little rough shape, but it gives it some character, if you know what I mean. I do like the Hitman games. Grew up playing them. Very hard games. I don't think I've ever beat any of them, though. But De Blob 2. I have De Blob 1 and 2. 1 somewhere. Really cool art style. Really quirky games. This was sort of the beginning of, like, the independent feeling... creative concept sort of games that we're inundated with now, in a good way, usually. But De Blob, classic horror. Glad I found this one too, kind of prepping me. This is another thing, I'm prepping for October, finding all my horror films, pulling them all out. 5, The Mad Magician, The Man Who Turned to Stone, and The Terror of Tongs. Films that I don't know much about and I've not seen. So, yeah, looking forward to cracking into this Mill Creek collection here. So, pretty cool. There's another one of those Wes Anderson films, Royal Tenenbaums, dime a dozen Criterions. Cool movie. I thought it was funny at the time. I would like to revisit it. But, I mean, a remarkable cast. I mean, Danny Glover, Gene Hackman, Angelica Houston, Bill Murray, Gwyneth Paltrow, Ben Stiller, Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson. Unbelievable cast. So Wes Anderson doing his dark comedy here. Well, all of his films are sort of dark comedies, but... Oh, cool. I didn't realize all my 3DO games were in here. You guys probably don't give a shit about these. I don't know. Tell me if you do. Wing Commander 3, Really cool. I used to play this on the PC. Escape from Monster Manor. This is an exclusive on the 3DO. It's a horror first-person shooter Doom clone. Hell yeah. Gotta love these ginormous boxes. Just so much character. I love it. I love it. So much color. Gex. I have played and beat this on the 3DO. A good game. A solid platformer with some really good graphics and sound. This was 3DO's big game, you know. This was their Mario. This was, hey, we got Gex. He's cool. He wears sunglasses. He talks shit. He gets annoying at points. And Crystal Dynamics. This was 3DO's big game. Fun game, though. Honestly, fun game. Grew up playing the sequels, too, on PS1. This is a game that I've heard really cool things about. I hear it's way ahead of its time. Super violent. Quarantine. This is sort of a Grand Theft Auto sort of open world sort of game. First person shooter where you have this vehicle that you can like buck shots out the window. Look at the screenshots, man. I mean, this looks like a hell of a 3DO game. I've heard it's one of the better ones. And you gotta love that stylized cover there with the windshield all red, blood. That's a fantastic cover, right? So Quarantine, Flashback. Oh yeah. So I grew up playing this game. And things like Out of This World and the sequel to this, Fade to Black, actually, on the PS1. But I never played the 3DO version, which I hear arguably is the best version to play. So Flashback. Really looking forward to digging into this one. It's a Prince of Persia-esque action puzzle platformer, like Prince of Persia, like Out of This World. Immersionary, another really cool sort of open world, cyberpunk, virtual reality shooter. Really cool looking game. Look at some of the shots. You know, I'm very picky when it comes to 3DO games for obvious reasons. There weren't too many great ones, but there were some underrated games here, guys. So this is another cool one, actually. I have tried. And really cool polygonal 3D sort of land and space shooter from what I remember. But all these pretty much have full motion video, too. That was one of the selling points to the 3DO at the time, believe it or not. And this is Stellar 7 Draxs Revenge. Sounds like a bad sci-fi movie from the 80s. But yeah, cool. So I'm glad I found those, actually. You guys probably don't give a shit about them, but Jet Pilot. John Wayne, Janet Leigh, Howard Hughes. I don't know. I'll probably never watch that. This really shoddy little set here with Hiroshima, In the Presence of Mine Enemies. How Hitler, in the Presence of Mine Enemies. I don't know. That's a weird title. How Hitler Lost the War. Some documentaries. I don't know. Godzilla! Save the Earth! These are some fun-ass Godzilla games, especially if you're a fan of the series. Check these out. These are just straight-up brawlers. They give you a city to destroy. They let you choose from basically, 15 other monsters, so 16, 17, 18 monsters, which is pretty cool. These are fun games. This and Melee, Godzilla Melee, and a couple others. So really, really fun games, especially if you're a fan of Godzilla.